Hey everybody, welcome back to another video from Focused on the Road. My name is Cinnamon, and today's video is going to be a review of the Lake Texoma RV campground in North Texas. Stay tuned, we got lots of good information coming. The Lake Texoma RV campground is a Thousand Trails park and is one of the 4 Thousand Trails parks surrounding the Dallas metro area. It's located in Gordonville, Texas, on the very border of Texas and Oklahoma, just about an hour and a half north of Dallas. We stayed at this campground for a little bit over a month due to the coronavirus pandemic. We had originally not planned to stay at this campground at all, but we were in the Dallas area when everything happened with coronavirus, and it was one of the closest and the best reviewed parks that was close by as a part of the Thousand Trails membership. So we were lucky enough to make a reservation and start our stay. And then during the outbreak, Thousand Trails was very gracious enough to extend everybody's stay who was already in the park. So we were actually able to stay in the park for just over 5 weeks. We first arrived to the park at the very end of March, and when we got there, we were actually put in an overflow spot that was kind of over on the side. It wasn't in the main campground area. The spot was actually pretty nice. We liked it. It was very secluded. It had water and electric, but did not have a sewer hookup. So once we determined that we were going to be staying at the park for longer than the original 14 days, we talked with the rangers, and they were able to allow us to move to a full hookup site. So this has been our spot at the Thousand Trails Texoma since Sunday, but it's 50 amp, but it doesn't have sewer. And we're going to be here for like another week and a half, so we're actually moving to a site that has everything, 50 amp sewer, full hookups, just so we can stay put for the next week and a half. Full hookup sites are available at this campground. If you prefer a 50 amp site, those are available as well, but there is a $3 per day surcharge. Now, the site that we were in did have 50 amp service, so all we paid for the park was the additional $3 per day, and that's of course because, you know, with the Thousand Trails parks, you don't pay the nightly fee, you just pay your membership fee. We're very, very grateful that we invested in Thousand Trails when we did, because we were able to stay at this park for no nightly fees for almost 6 weeks. Lake Texoma RV Campground has 285 spots throughout various loops in the park. We stayed in the Q loop. We noticed that there was a lot of full-time residents at this park, in addition to a lot of people who have annual sites, and they leave their camper there in the site, and then they come back and forth for the weekend or something like that. A few of our neighbors were in that situation. So the loop that we were actually in was actually relatively quiet. And even though there were fifth wheels and campers all around us, there weren't actually people there. So we were able to kind of have a nice quiet spot all to ourselves. We're home. There's 2 different swimming pools at this park. Both of them looked very nice. Neither of them were open during our stay there, mainly due, first of all, to the weather, and then second of all, to the pandemic, and all of the amenities were closed at the park. There's also a couple of very large playgrounds and a putt-putt, which were also not open, and a couple of different community or activity centers, which were also closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. There were some pickleball courts that we saw people playing at every once in a while, but for the most part, most of the amenities at the campground were not being utilized during our time there. Since our time at the park was mostly during the coronavirus pandemic, we did not see a lot of people out and about. Every once in a while we would, see people walking their dogs or driving down to the lake. But for the most part, everybody kept pretty much to themselves and kept in their own campgrounds. But we really enjoyed our stay there, despite not being able to kind of interact with people as we normally would. There were several bathroom and shower facilities throughout the park. We didn't actually need to use any of them, so we actually didn't even go inside of one. There is a laundry facility as well, which is actually a pretty decent laundry facility for, most campgrounds. The cost was it was under $2 to wash and dry, and there was a decent number of washers and dryers in the laundry facility, and it was kept pretty clean during our time there. We did laundry numerous times while we were there, and we had no complaints. You also could use coins or credit card in the laundry, and there's an additional bathroom and a TV in the laundry room as well, if you wanted to stay there while your laundry was going and have something to entertain you while you were there. So this campground is by a lake, of course, because it's Lake Texoma RV Campground. None of the sites are actually by water, although they do have a little kind of pond in the middle of the park, and some of the sites do back up to that. But the lake is a decent drive away from where the actual spots are, which is why most of the people in the campground we noticed have golf carts. The golf carts were very cool. We enjoyed looking at them. A lot of them were 6-seaters. Some of them had really cool lights on them and stereos. And we did see quite a few people driving around the campground in their golf carts. And then it's a little bit of a drive down the road, so where you can park and you can, sit by the lake or get into the lake. There's a couple of different boat ramps if you have a boat. There was storage on the campground as well for people wanting to store some trailers or boats as well. And we did see a few, like a pontoon boat and a few different trailers and stuff like that being stored at the campground. And the lake itself is a decent sized lake. We went and sat out by the lake a couple of times, and we drove down by the water. Yeah, people seem to really enjoy this time here. We imagine during the summertime, not in a pandemic, this is probably a very busy park with a lot of traffic. And a lot of lake traffic, we assume. The roads at the campground were pretty bad. A lot of potholes, a lot of uneven surfaces. We're coming to find from hearing other people that this is pretty common for a Thousand Trails park. And so we weren't totally surprised by the state of the roads. But you just got to be careful and just watch where you're going as you're driving around the campsite or around the campground, just to make sure you don't hit any of those huge divots. It did rain on us quite a bit when we were there. I mean, typical Texas storms. We had one storm that came through that was pretty powerful. Paul got some great GoPro footage of that storm. There was hail and a lot of lightning, but it passed through relatively quickly. It was about 10 minutes or so, and it just came and went. And so we are assuming that this campground does get quite a bit of rain and might flood from time to time, although we didn't experience anything major in terms of weather while we were there. And as I mentioned before, most of the neighboring spots to ours were vacant during our time there, so we didn't really experience any sort of excessive noise or, people being out and about. I'm not sure what that would look like during kind of a normal season when all of the campsites are full and people are milling around and about. The front desk staff and the rangers at this park were very nice and accommodating. We had packages delivered a few times, and we got a few bags of ice. FedEx and UPS will both deliver to the park. If it's not an essential item, the packages are $5 each to pick up. They will charge you at the time you pick them up. If something is delivered by United States Postal Service, there is a post office that package will stay at, and the post office is about 8 minutes down the road. We had numerous packages sent to us during our time there and didn't run into any issues. Overall, we really enjoyed our time at the Lake Texoma RV Campground. We were able to take a few visits into Sherman, which is the closest town, big town, to this campground. We were also able to drive over the border into Oklahoma and play a round of golf. And even though we weren't planning to stay at this park originally, we did enjoy our time there. And if we're ever back in the area, we would be happy to spend some time back at this park again. We hope you enjoyed this review, and if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you've been to this campground, we would love to know your thoughts about it, so drop us a comment below. And if you're not subscribed, we would love if you would subscribe and stay tuned to all of our future videos that are coming as we play golf in all 50 states and travel the country. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys really soon. Bye-bye.